as mentioned, here we are meeting for the first time ever Cam Lewis from the Blue and Dubs podcast. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat with you and get it going.
Yeah. So we'll start off where we always do in our getting to know you interviews here on Nothing is Perfect. Can you let me know who your favorite hockey team is?
Yes, my favorite hockey team, of course, Vancouver Canucks. Diehard fan, always have been growing up. Live in the suburb Richmond off of Vancouver. Gotta love them. Big family of Canucks fans and me as well. So always got to be with the team.
That's good. Cheering for the local team is always a good choice.
hmm
If you had to choose, who would you say is your favorite Vancouver Canuck of all time?
Yeah, probably not a lot of people's favorites or their go-to, but mine is actually Mason Raymond. I just loved him growing up. He was probably in his prime when I was a little kid growing up. I don't know, maybe like 10 years old, something like that, watching him. And I just loved his speed. He was so fast and his finesse and stuff like his spinoramas and all that cool stuff that he did. And again, unfortunate that he broke his back in the Stanley Cup Finals. And hey, it could have been very much different situation. Who knows if he didn't? But yeah, I just loved him growing up. I've been fortunate to meet him a few times and have a lot of hockey cards of him and a big old picture signed by him. So yeah, Mason Raymond, my guy.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we get a lot of Berets, we get a lot of Quinn Hughes, we get a lot of that stuff. But I mean, I always say Mason Raymond's one of those things that happened in the 2011 finals that really prevented the Canucks from winning that series. I think if he's healthy in
hmm
that series, the Canucks definitely have a better chance of taking out Boston.
hmm
So if you had to pick your favorite Canucks moment of all time, does it include Mason Raymond?
I mean, I guess, but not exactly from him. He was just more of a little finesse guy himself. Probably not too many big moments, but my favorite, I was actually at this game, was when Bieksa scored off the stanchion against San Jose to send the Canucks to the Stanley Cup Finals. Again, I was a little kid. I was so scared I couldn't even watch overtime. I was just full of emotion, and not a lot of people saw that goal go in the net because it was just such a weird play off the stanchion. Right to him, goes in little area of the net, perfect little shot. Canucks, get to see that whole celebration, Western Conference, champions, all that. So that was a crazy moment. I think a big moment in Canucks history. Go to the Stanley Cup Finals for one of the few times that they have. Yeah, exciting time. Really got me hooked on being a Canucks fan for sure. So yeah, that moment I would say.
Yeah, you and BX are some of the only guys in the stadium that knew where that puck was, and BX is
hmm
skipping into the net, so that was a very exciting moment. It's one of those things,
Yeah.
being in Rogers Arena or GM Place, depending on how old you are, watching an overtime goal is absolutely one of the best things that you can experience.
hmm
So if we're talking about your channel, it's called Green, Blue, and Dubs. I've got a link in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. Can you tell me why you started the Green, Blue, and Dubs podcast?
Yeah, so a bit of history, I guess. I went to BCIT, if anyone knows, a local college here in Vancouver area, and I've always wanted to be either a sports player myself or on TV talking about sports. And I grew up, if you ever watch Sportsnet, Don Taylor, I grew up, every morning watching him, and I just loved him and talking about sports and talking about it all the time. And I started other few podcasts or YouTube channels, I guess, not really podcasts in the past that just I didn't have a personal interest in, didn't really get going, whatever, didn't get anywhere. And then I just thought, like, yeah, so I started off, yes, with the Canucks, but I also do the Seattle Mariners, Seattle Seahawks, all Pacific Northwest teams, all green, blue, and green and blue colors. Sorry, not the Kraken though, because expansion team, and I already have my hockey team. They're a bit turquoise, so whatever. Um, yeah, and then so I think that I started it off and I fell in love with it. And I love, as I said, talking about sports and especially hockey. And the Canucks were my very first team that I ever liked in sports. And I think it's gone a long way slowly. And I enjoy going over games, talking about them, and talking with other people about them as well. And yeah, would like to be a bit more consistent with it, but getting there slowly. And I enjoy doing it. So yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Don Taylor?
Actually, I have. He was one of our guest speakers in a BCIT class that I took. Actually, before I went there, just as a prerequisite type of fun course. But yeah, he was one of our guest speakers, and didn't really meet him like that, but in that form that I did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm as my viewers know, I'm a BCIT radio broadcast grad. So you got two BCIT alums sitting here chatting. Did you find that the radio kids were a little bit more rowdy than the rest of the broadcast crew down there at BCIT?
Yeah, we definitely had our differences, I would say. Journalism, I wouldn't at the time for students, but I would say maybe a bit more like professional. Like we have to be, I guess, on camera. Radio's behind the scenes more and just your voice. So probably a little bit more loose on that side of things. But yeah, we definitely had our differences, and we didn't meet up too much, but you could definitely tell there was one side to one and another side to another.
Yeah, we're bridging that
Yeah.
gap today. But I remember when I was at BCIT, I graduated. I think it was 2008 or 2009. We had one class that was called industry operations, and it was when TV, journalism, and radio all got together in one big auditorium and did a class. And I remember as radio students, we would literally go down to Professor Muggs, get some happy hour drinks, and then come in half cut because we did not like that class sitting in the back acting like a bunch of jackals. Is that something you experienced?
No, I don't know why, but another thing, I mean, probably for this reason, my second year there was actually during COVID.
Ah,
So yeah, the first year there was good, and then I think right out of, the first year, at the end of it, going right into the second year, that is right when COVID hit. So it was a completely different situation there. But I think the only people that were allowed on campus at the time were our program, broadcast, radio, and then like nurses. And I think like that was kind of it. So yeah, never really communicated too much with the radio guys,
yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah.
I was lucky enough. One of my first radio jobs was actually at in the building of Team 1040. My main job was at a radio station called C Fun. But I was the guy who would go around and grab all the weather reports and that kind of thing and pass them off. And I was Don Taylor was working there at the time, and he was always such a nice guy. I didn't get a lot of time to spend with him, but I can always say that he was one of the nicest guy in the entire building. So a
Right.
good one to
Nice.
be a fan of. So you've been doing it for almost a year now here on YouTube. Coming up January 11th, I believe, is your anniversary coming up. What's the biggest learning experience that you've had so far running this podcast on YouTube?
Yeah, I've learned, just over time making videos, a few different things, a lot of different things. And I started off just basically talking, which is like podcast style, but I think that I was going more off of just rants and just, I'd watch the game and then boom, straight to it. But I think it's better that I've realized over time to have notes, at least a structured thing that you want to go off of and know what you're talking about. And then as well, thumbnails as well of something I've just recently changed my thumbnail to just grab more attention, kind of looking at other YouTube channels or what they're doing with their stuff. And then as well, just like anything, I guess, in life is being consistent. I do have a job, a day job, and do that, and I'm not as consistent sometimes as I would like to be. I'm more at the Canucks versus the other teams that I do or have covered in the past. So yeah, staying consistent, having a structured setup for your video, and just a good visual presentation. I would say some solid things that I've learned. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed you have probably about a dozen different colors of hoodies. How many is that accurate? How many different hoodies do you own?
Yeah, I mean, I look over there in my closet. Yeah, like I got different color hoodie for everything. I'm very much a hoodie guy. I wear a lot of hoodies and hats. I know I wear like the same hat basically every video, but I have a whole bunch of hats over there too. So big hoodie and hat guy, I would say. Yeah.
It's something even Dave Grohl. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan, and that's one thing he said about writing good music is that consistency and even just like wearing the same hat every single episode is some way to keep people's attention, and it's what they expect to see, right? So people like that
Right.
consistency. What can people expect from your channel when they're tuning into your videos?
Oh yeah, great question. So we both basically just we like to recap the game to start off. We do, a little intro about say last night's game, or we'll do it's not even every game, just a road trip or a few half of a road trip or a homestand. So we'll recap that to start off, and then I like looking at what's going wrong right now for the team, what's going right right now for the team, and not a lot of people say have watched the game, and then they just go to highlights on YouTube or a podcast or your channel or my channel or something like that. So I like to recap the game for them in case they missed it, what I viewed my personal opinion on how this team's doing. And then again, behind the scenes stuff, trades, roster moves, even what's going on with management, even with the whole JT Miller stuff, being out for personal reasons and kind of digging in on that, trying to find out just really everything that's going on in Vancouver hockey. I like to, keep the fans up to date, do it in a hopefully entertaining, exciting fashion, or they can feel like they connect with me when I'm chatting about it. So, yeah, I feel like they can look forward to recaps and just everything that's going on currently with the team, and also what's going to go on with them in the future as well, and certain moves the team's going to make.
So what's your finger on the pulse of the Canucks so far this year? Because we've coming off a stretch of games where they defeated the Stanley Cup, defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, get their butts handed to them by their demons, the Boston Bruins, and then have a really good game against the Avs. Do we really know who the Canucks are so far, or are we still waiting to find out who the real Canucks team is?
I want to say that we're starting to get there. But I think over the majority of the season, we haven't really at all. And I've said now that we're back with this team basically fully healthy, other than Hronik, who, probably out till about February. Yes, one of the top defensemen, but not shouldn't be the biggest problem. But you have your two goalies back now, and all your star forwards. All the forwards are healthy, and I think that now they should be able to start figuring it out. And we've seen on this homestand, 3-2-1, 7 out of possible 12 points. Not the worst, not the best, but I think now with Miller back, whatever was going on there, all the forwards are healthy. Dakota Joshua, he's got his first goal now. The play of some of the new additions as well. I think that, especially in the forward group, they should really be starting to find themselves. And defense, needs a little bit of work, but I think we've seen some improvements there as well. So I think going down the road, especially with more success on this latest homestand than they have had recently, we should start seeing this team start to gel more, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, more consistency coming up. And I think with, like you said, with everyone being healthy, it seems like everyone's kind of back into a role that they're more comfortable in. So that should allow the team to be a little bit more successful on a night to night basis, which is what you really want to see. But then you also have the difference between this Vancouver Canucks team when they're playing on the road versus when they're playing at home. Is there any explanation as to why that's happening?
Yeah, it's a very weird thing that's happened this year. It's opposite of what should be happening realistically. And in my videos, and I've talked about this year, I really can't put my thumb on it other than a mental thing. You come off the pressure that you're facing this year after your success at home last year. Everything was going right at home last year, lots of winning, especially leading up to even like the Lindholm trade. You had 6 All-Stars, and you're doing great. Things fell off a little bit after that, but they were so good at home last year. And I think with this year and lots of additions, but also subtractions, being without Dakota Joshua to start, Demko, and they do play a lot better in front of Demko for the majority of the time. I think it's just a bit of a mental thing and getting out of their heads, especially with that first game against Calgary. They start off the season just like we saw last year, scoring all these goals and then have that very big collapse. And then, a couple losses after that, I think have been in their head a little bit. I would say, just oh, we have to win at home, but we can't figure it out. And it was getting to them. They go on the road then. Oh, no pressure. We're the away team. Who cares if we lose? Whatever. Focus, focus, focus. Always on hockey. On the road, and look what happened. So I think because it can't be a hockey team. It's the same or a hockey thing. It's the same team. So I would just say it's a mental thing personally, and I think they're getting a bit over that hump now. Hopefully.
Yeah. So we love to see what Chef Alvin's been doing. He's been cooking in the kitchen. Pretty much everything he touches turns to gold. If we're looking at probably two of the biggest signings in the offseason, both coming from the Nashville Predators, Sherwood and Lankinen. If you had to say which of those two signings has been most beneficial and the best signing for the Canucks so far this season? Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Love Sherwood. People have been seen some comparisons to the modern day Alex Burrows, except for the fact that he's not playing on that first line. He's got the goal scoring, seemed to be figured out career high now, as we know. He's got the physicality as well, leading the NHL in hits. But the Canucks would not be where they are without Lankinen. So bottom line, I would have to go him, and especially with the play of Seeloffs this season, which hasn't been great. Demko out for the first few months there. Without Lankinen, they probably would have signed someone else. Probably not as good. I don't think there was anyone really on the market that's doing what he's doing. And it's your goalie, right? It's not just one forward who's a depth forward playing on the third line or whatever. So I would say taking it all in, Lankinen would have to be bottom line. Yeah, best signing. I mean, any team really this off season. So
Yeah, you get that many wins out of a goalie who's making under $1 million, and you got to be happy with that signing.
yeah.
So what are you expecting from the Canucks moving forward into the? We're looking at like a wild card spot? Are we looking at maybe finishing 1 or 2 in the division?
You know, Vegas is going to be a tough one. I'll say right now, Edmonton too. They're especially if they had a better goalie. I always hate on Stuart Skinner. I don't understand why they just keep him around. Anyways, but there's going to be Vegas. There's going to be Edmonton. LA is kind of up in the air. They have a solid team. No, I've been going back and forth between this, but I'm gonna say I'm expecting them to at least be third in the division. I think you have to be better than LA. Sure, there's Vegas and Edmonton, but you should be right near them the whole season. They could very much finish first in the division again. Go back to back. They're not that too far behind Vegas. With a couple games less played than Vegas. And I think they can take on those teams. I think if honestly, even if they finish in a wild card spot, that's a bit of a disappointment with this team. I know they didn't have everyone to start the season, but now that you guys got everyone, your full team there, especially say if they make a trade for a defenseman, which I think they should for sure. Hopefully that strengthens the team, and I expect them hopefully to be top three, hopefully at least two. I don't know about one, but I'm hoping around 2 to 3 in the division. And how are you feeling about that? You think they're finishing there? Or?
Yeah, I'm thinking top 3 at least. They'll probably trade for another defenseman, and then Hirona comes back, and then the defense would be really solid after that point. So I'm expecting them to make a run, maybe even make a push for the division, depending on how Vegas holds up. But it should be interesting to see. Cool. Thanks, Cam, for taking the time out of your day to join me here on Nothing is Perfect. Everyone, go check out his channel. Like I said, we got a link in the description down below. If you do go and sub right now, you will be his 69th subscriber, so that's a pretty good total to hold.
Yep.
Thanks for stopping by, brother.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, and hope to do this again sometime soon for sure.
Nothing is perfect.